This time on Nightmare Island, I'm going to do a lot of things, but I'm going to start by playing with my solar panels. I thought it would be amusing if I could place them inside somehow, because they would probably still work. Tried a few different spots, but ultimately decided this would probably be the simplest solution. I put two of them down because I just happened to have two in my inventory. I was presented with a bit of a situation when I was putting the wires down. I didn't consider the fact that I had done this weird double beam thing at the top of my double wide trailer log cabin. So I may have placed a few extra wires that I didn't need, and I couldn't pick them back up again. There are these quarter logs between the two middle beam logs. Peak logs? Whatever they are. I couldn't get wires on them, so I was moving forward hoping that what I had done would be sufficient. It turned out it was fine. Placing down my 8 light bulbs that I have in my inventory, I am now hoping to light this thing up like a Christmas tree. After I finished that, I went for a bit of a supply run to have a think about what I should do next. And as I was rolling up to my place, not too surprisingly perhaps, there was a Fingers waiting to say hello. I wanted to use this opportunity to try my shotgun drive-by idea. It's not the most feasible. There's too many rocks most places. The terrain's uneasy. They have this, I don't know. I ended up having to roll backwards. The angle was awkward. 3 out of 10. And then I fell. I was on my way to the cliffs on the other side of the cove to see what sort of vertices I could ascend with the Night V. It seems that you can get up about 80 degrees. 90 might be possible. I can't confirm that. But anything with a little bit of a slope going forward is fine. Here in front of me, there were slopes that went out above me, behind me. Could not ascend those. Makes pretty reasonable sense, I thought. And I was still able to get up the cliff and explore this area behind it. I heard something, so I turned around and got off my Night V to shoot whatever cannibal was behind me. And then a friggin' moose stampedes me, knocks my Night V into the water. Look at that bastard, chillin', just like he owns this damn pond. So I decided to grab my Night V and pretty much GTFO. It's unsafe here. The cannibals and the mooses can have this pond. I don't need it. I knew at the very least I would want to do some building. But first, I wanted to make some armor. And before I did that, I wanted to make another armor rack. Jeff and Ritchard would be getting a friend, and his name would be Guy. About half of the logs I sent up my zipline were falling down, so I was really working on fine-tuning the system. I worked the rest of that in-game day on it, and I got pretty much nowhere. So I decided to call it a night, start the next in-game day early, but I had forgotten to turn on my light bulbs, and so I took some time and did that before I started the next day. I don't really add that many more candles of brightness than any of the standard light sources, but it is a little bit better. The next day, it seems winter had fallen. My water sources were frozen over. I was cold. Character was cold. And I could see the snow taking up the space where the grass was. And then these guys appeared out of the mist. I was out of shotgun ammo, and I was a little sad about it, but I had plenty of pistol ammo, and decided to be conservative with these things from now on, or at least more mindful. This is my 2-tier logging system that goes from the cut site to a central collection site that goes to the base. In the future, I'll just add like arms out and hopefully the cannibals and mutants won't bother the logs as long as I'm not in range. And if I am in range, I simply will just have to deal with them. And then I did this. Right click. Or, yeah, no. Left click, not E. I keep making that mistake. And now I was going to have to fiddle with my zip line again. So I decided to move it to the top instead of 5 floors down where I had it. I started losing about half of my logs again, or not losing them, but they weren't making it to the top, and the ones that did were of threat of falling over. So I went back down to 5 floors below, but I had this clever little idea to put a log holder there. And what that does is instead of the log just falling, the log holder has a chance of catching the log. So far, I think my log's percentage of making it up are about 99%. I believe there was only one aberration, and I could not explain what happened, because it's hard to see that high up when the log finally detaches from the zip line. I gave my shotgun to Virginia since I was out of ammo. It's very handy. It's like having half a shotgun. I love it. I definitely would have liked to have had ammo more, but I'm the nerd that wasted all of my ammo. So, c'est la vie. Something I've noticed is not all of the sunsets are the same in this game. This particular sunset at Gloaming, I was in love with. I was completely immersed in the mood of the moment, and happy to deal with these logs that had fallen into the water. As I was taking the logs over to the zip line, I noticed a puffy, and then behind it a fingers just beyond my pike wall. The thing about the mutants is they have a range of aggression in their wanderings. It's pretty wide. They're not like the cannibals that are going to come right up to you. I hadn't noticed that earlier on. It's a pretty big strategic advantage. I didn't get much done on the tower this day, but I did have the invention of the log holder. So all in all, really not too bad. The trick with the zip line going into the tower is not so much left or right, although once you put the log cart down, left or right really does matter. But the in and the out, too far in and it goes flying, too far out, like towards you, and the log just falls back down. I ended up trying to move my log holder higher up, and finally had some success. I felt pretty happy that I was learning exactly what to do, and then I fell. I think I had something in my hand. I don't know that mattered. I moved the zipline farther right, and I still fell. I believe I ended up moving it in just a little bit, and to the left back just a little bit. Not entirely true what I said about mutants, because the human centipede floppy fellows, they will come at you. They don't have a range of aggression. I think this is me working on levels 17 and 18. I believe I'm going to be heading upwards into level 70s, but I'm not sure if I could go that high. But I wanted to try jumping from the level that I had just to see what I could scout. I lost the last hang glider, I think, because I left it on top of my trailer. And when I went too far away to whichever cave it was and came back somewhere in there, it glitched and disappeared. I suspect it might be somewhere on the map, so hopefully someday I'll find it, maybe retrievable. But I'm loath to leave a second one. I suppose I could save it and give it a try, but I don't want to lose another one. And it's gonna be a whole thing where I don't leave the hang gliders on my building just in case they don't respawn. But every time I want to use the tower, I will have to run up every single level. Alright, flying past the tower and haven't lost too much altitude. Now I'm across the bay. Only lost half my altitude-ish. Flying back. I love flying the hang glider next to the tower. I think it looks so friggin' cool. It occurred to me around this point that I could use the hang glider to scout new areas, to do some logging. That'll be fun. I'll have to plan ahead which direction I'm going, because I could. But I have a possible plan for maybe doing some logging across the bay. We'll see how good I get at transporting logs from a cut site. Then it's back to lumberjacking. But I see a big old fella, and I can't just have him wandering around knocking my infrastructure apart or hurting Kelvin. So, stuck him with some friggin' arrows. I was impressed with the number of these shots. I am usually not this accurate. Could be getting better with the bow. I'll give myself that. But not by much, and these guys just take so many arrows to kill. I wish I had flaming arrows like in the forest. That would be cool. Maybe they'll add that at some point. And bone arrows too. What the hell? I used to live by my bow in the forest. I lost a creepy arm the last time he hit me. I gotta watch out for the range on his vertebra skull awesome club. Every cannibal dies, but not every cannibal ever truly lives. I hadn't seen too many skinnies this side of the island up to this point. One or two now and then, certainly none on the beach. But they started being a little more common. The groups of enemies started getting a tiny bit smaller. For the most part. I'm probably full of shit, but I'm calling them like I see them. And I think all these things have changed because I've moved a bunch of my constructions off land and straight into the water. I decided to dress Guy in a ghillie suit. I also wanted to just take a little time and straighten out Jeff and Ritchard. Jeff is going to be the bone man, and Ritchard is going to be the flesh monster. The four of us can take tea together and discuss important topics of the island, like why are there so many jerks? Well, I think that'll look handsome. Just a little more on this guy, I guess. Yeah, he's got little feet. Adorable. Creepy. Adorable. Yeah. Bone, flesh, ghillie. Guy, Ritchard, and Jeff. Perfect. Sometimes when these guys show up and I'm in the middle of building, it can be obnoxious. But since I moved a bunch of my stuff into the water, they, I don't know. Maybe it just started being a little bit funnier to me. Yeah, fuck you two. Screw you. Go to hell. No, no, no. You stay down, big man. These guys. I love watching myself going full Rambo. Then after the battle was over, I found this person chillin', dispatched them, and then I did this fun thing where I like really watched one of the red guys burn into bones. Sped it up a bit. Check out the eyes if you want to pay attention to him. They're popping out of his head, and like his gums are popping out of his head too. It's really rad. I'm trying to be more conscientious about making bone armor and just collecting the bones to begin with, while burning the bodies and then collecting the bones. Bone armor is so useful, and it's not terribly expensive. Ropes are pretty easy to come by from what I've seen. And tape also, especially tape. There's tons and tons of tape. And it just takes duct tape, the bones, and rope to make the bone armor. I don't have any plans to put log holders, or as I'm beginning to call them, log catchers, at that central point. I'd be too worried that the cannibals would just attack it to heck. But I didn't even notice, speaking of cannibals, these fellows when I ziplined in, and then I had to go over and say hello with arrows. It didn't go as well as I'm making it look here. I probably shot missed several times. They weren't all one shots. One of those cannibals, though, that fellow on the floor there to my left, was beating on my chairs, so those are the new targets. I had a plan for Kelvin, and he agreed. I had him build a bunch of stick holders, and then I was going to have him fill them up. Kelvin needed something to do. I think, just to keep his mood up in the future, I might just destroy things and have him rebuild them. Just keep the guy busy. Quick building montage because things were rolling. I like going to bed early sometimes in the forest. I don't know if there's any sort of strategic advantage to it, whether or not I could save on food or water or get more rest or something. I should pay attention to that and see what's up with it. It may not be to my advantage, but anyways. The next morning here you can see I'm enjoying some breakfast and checking my fish trap, which again is either glitched or just not working in that spot anymore, so I moved it, and we'll see how this spot goes. I've moved this thing probably 5 or 6 times. It just started getting fish in the last spot, but then all of a sudden stopped. I love this detail of the packed down snow taking longer to melt. This is the first winter I think I noticed it, and I really love it. I was looking at my logging infrastructure here and thinking it could probably use just a bit of tweaking. Some of the logs had flown off the zip line and gotten under the trailer, and it's fine, they were grabbable. But what if one time they weren't grabbable? So I decided to build this little wall to prevent that potential outcome. I also decided to get rid of all that firewood that I had absolutely no use for. I fully expect this to bite me in the ass sometime in the future. Making room so that I now have a bunch of new log catchers. Fingers showed up, and I was gonna try and deal with him without using my guns, be a big boy about it, and then Virginia helped. And I did end up getting him pretty much with the spear. Gotta watch the way that he attacks, and then I'll be fine. Building montage. And that is level 20 done, and I'm headed up in my hang glider. My plan is to fly across the bay, scout out the cannibal camp on the other side, see what I can see. It went really well. I probably could have landed on those cliffs across the way if I had planned on it, but I did not, And I may in the future. That could be a fun little see if I can make it work deal. But it would just suck to lose the hang glider in the ocean. Made it down there to the camp and saw nothing. Really, the only thing I did see were those sharks on the way here. This is me realizing I might have been able to land on the cliff or somehow take advantage of it. Yeah, I could build right there in those in that sandbar. I bet I could get a zip line from that sandbar to over to the back side of my tower. I bet I could. I may try. It's looking good though. It's coming along. This video started with about, I want to say about 5 hours of footage. I cut a lot of the logging and the building, obviously. You can see there I've moved my bone chair that was next to the trailer out into the open there. But they've destroyed one of, well, technically it was Kelvin's bone chair they destroyed, but that's okay because for some reason Virginia has been able to make her way in. Finally was able to get some fish. Yeah, I was putting that fish up, and all of a sudden Virginia's behind me. She's left me some blackberries. This is the first time she's been inside my building. I didn't even know she could go out into the water. But anyway, I'm just gonna finish up this video staring at my tower.